Hello everybody, welcome back to another reading. Today we're taking a look at the case of Kristen O'Connell, who died on August 15th of 1985 at the age of 20. Kristen had met a boy during spring break at Captive Island, and his name, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, was James Vermeesh, and she was going to go visit him in Ovid, New York in August. Her parents were initially not super happy about the idea, but she was 20, and so they couldn't say no. I do believe that one of the parents' business contacts was going to drive her at least part of the way. I believe, not really sure, she may have been driven to Ovid by somebody. In any case, she flew out and met with James and a friend of his and went to his place. I believe he lived in a trailer in Ovid somewhere. Now, on the 14th, there was a party at said trailer, and there were a lot of people there, including James and Kristen and his friend. And around, I believe it said 11:40 or 11:30 in the evening, she called her mother and said that she was going to come back the next day. And even though she didn't really say exactly what the problem was, her mother, Phyllis, could definitely tell that there was something wrong with Kristen. She was not in her usual mood. According to James, who later, of course, had to give a witness statement, she had left the party that evening around that time and not taken her shoes or her purse and walked down an unlit and unfamiliar road. And that's when something apparently happened. Other witnesses at the party stated that they had heard a scream at around 12 a.m., so around midnight. Other people said that they had seen two guys that were both wearing jeans, and they were both around 6 feet tall and apparently had a greenish-bluish car. None of that was confirmed, and nobody was actually arrested that matched any of those descriptions. Furthermore, there was a call made to 911 by somebody who said that they wanted to stop the person who actually did this thing to Kristen, and that if they went to look for a green Chevy in Waterloo, they would find the perpetrator in the back of this truck. None of this actually led to an arrest. But what we do know is that Kristen was found the next day in a cornfield about a mile away from the trailer, and she was completely naked and soaked by the rain. Her throat had been slit, but there was no signs of alcohol or drugs in her system, and she had not been assaulted according to the autopsy. Furthermore, it's interesting to note that there were two occasions in which the police department was offered help in the sense of using more DNA technology and like more updated DNA technology. A documentary filmmaker who had a connection to a DNA lab had contacted them at some point and said, hey, can we do a documentary on Kristen? I think that would help bring her case back to light. Maybe something can be found in the DNA because we got new technology. I had this lab that I have access to. And they had said no. And later there was a Dutch team that could do touch DNA analysis, and there were several, I believe, governors of her own state, because she wasn't from New York, she was from Minnesota, I believe, and the governor of New York as well. Both of those said that would be a good idea. But once again, this help was denied, which is fairly unusual. I guess they were assuming that the rain had washed everything away. I'm not really sure why they did not accept that help. So something happened to Kristen, and we don't know what or who did it. Well, we know how she came to her end, but we also don't know where her clothes went, because as far as I'm aware, they didn't find any, or maybe I overlooked that part in the information. But other than the fact that we know that her throat was slit and that she was found in a cornfield about a mile away from a party location, we know virtually nothing, and as far as I'm aware, they never actually went to look for that green Chevy in Waterloo either. So we have virtually nothing. We're going to look at this case with the tarot, and we're starting off with the Deviant Moon Tarot, which is this one. For further questions, we're going to move on to the Modern Witch Tarot, which is this one. It has the more modern imagery as well. Before we get started though, you probably are aware if you've been here before, but just in case you're new here, hello by the way, I have a Google form linked in the description of the video, and you can submit public cases there you would like me to take a look at. It's completely anonymous. You can just put the name of the person or the name of the case and perhaps a little extra information so I can look up some information beforehand before we do a reading, and that would be very much appreciated so I can keep doing readings that you guys want to see. Well, with that out of the way, I'm just going to start shuffling the deck, and as soon as we have enough cards, we're going to stop and take a look. So without much further ado, let's get started. Okay, we got an extra card on the end there. Let's get started at the top left. We have the World in reverse, we have the Seven of Cups upright, and the Two of Wands in reverse. Alright, so the World in reverse, let me grab all three actually. When I got this World in reverse, first of all, it fell on the floor, and I kind of felt like this was perhaps her feeling like she was in a place that she was just very unfamiliar with and feeling very much alone. And this Seven of Cups over here is perhaps her wishing that it wasn't so. And it kind of reminds me of this, the Two of Wands here. Normally the Two of Wands is somebody looking over the world with, I think, one wand stuck up against the wall and the other one in hand. And often they also have like a globe in their hand as well, like they've got travel plans. But in this case, this person, or Kristen in this case, probably didn't see a way out to travel in that moment. So this feels like her moment of desperation where she went and left the trailer without her shoes or purse to go find a payphone. Like, that must have been some panicky moment, because who leaves without their shoes, first of all? Did you forget your purse? Okay, I can understand that if you're in a hurry, but most people at least put their shoes on when they're planning on going outside. So this is really, I think, the moment where she was very panicky and decided she needed to get out of here no matter what, and she felt like she had nowhere to go, even though she wished it so. We have the Page of Swords next, which is somebody who's very quick with their words, maybe a virtual altercation with somebody. Page, of course, is that very youthful energy, and they may not always think too much about what it is that they're saying. The Chariot is next, followed by the Magician. So the Chariot is movement, and the Magician is somebody who's very capable. It could be that she was trying to figure out how to find her way into a better position, trying to get things moving, maybe trying to get a ride or something along those lines. Maybe she talked people into transporting her to another location. Maybe she went and hitchhiking is what I'm trying to say. That's the word I'm looking for. So perhaps she used her capabilities to find somebody who could bring her somewhere, thinking that that would at least bring her to a safer location, or at least away from the situation that she found herself in. And since the Page of Swords is that youthful energy, she may not have been very clear, or she may not have known exactly what it was that she was asking for, and may therefore have been led in the wrong direction, or at least couldn't get her intentions clear to this other person or persons whom she was hoping to get a ride from. It could also very well be that she just didn't know exactly where she needed to go, like this is very crooked. Like, she's in a place that she's not familiar with. Ovid is a small town, and it's not like, well, they had a payphone, but this is 1985, so she didn't have a mobile phone on her, so she could maybe call a taxi or something along those lines. She may not have known exactly what services were available and if she could call upon anybody around midnight, but she tried her best, which is what a magician is trying to show us here. I'm going to leave that one until the end. Now, this card actually fell out the deck before I was done completing this first row, but I put it here automatically, so we're still on track. But we have here the Eight of Wands, which is a definitely trying to get things moving and shaking, and we have the Two of Cups next to that, followed by the Three of Cups in reverse. I just had this card in my hand when I was just starting to shuffle. Before I even set up my camera, I had this deck in my hands and I noticed this card, and I was like, I've actually never pulled this card, and lo and behold, it's here in the reading. That tends to happen a lot, actually, so I guess it's like a premonition never going to be seeing the card. Anyway, so we have the Eight of Wands, which could be communication. It could also be quick actions. As you can see, this person is trying to harvest these wands with a very determined look on their face, and it looks as though this is them determined to make something happen, get some movement going, get some communication going. This could be the phone call as well with this bird here with the notes, when she was in the middle of her I need to get out of here mood. We see the Two of Cups here, which looks very much like the Lovers. And with this Three of Cups in reverse, I think she may have encountered somebody whom she thought was going to be helpful, whom she thought was a nice person, but later turned out that they had wanted things that she was not interested in. And also, I'm really looking at the fish there at the bottom. The three there appear to be having a good time, but the fish with the teeth does not look like a very fun creature to be hanging out with. Like, they're having fun now, but it can go very fast in the wrong direction, is what this seems to give off. So I think this is where she meets the people that eventually end up costing her her life. And initially she may have felt that they were good people, or at least better people than the people she was leaving behind, but they turned out to be worse. We have the Six of Cups over here, followed by the Ten of Pentacles, and then we have the Three of Pentacles in reverse. Okay. And in the end we have the Five of Pentacles, but we'll get to that eventually. So the Six of Cups is normally like a childhood memory thing, could be something reminiscent about somebody. Maybe she felt like one of the people that she ran into reminded her of somebody, or she may have thought that she had met them before. Like somehow she may have thought, hey, you look familiar, and that made her feel like everything was okay. But the Ten of Pentacles, even though that normally is like an inheritance card or some type of card of wealth or gaining new resources, in this case it kind of reminds me of the Three of Cups, in the sense that we do see three people here, but only two of them are really benefiting. As you can see, the third person is way in the bottom looking very depressed and oppressed, and the people on top are playing games literally on top of this person. So they may have actually toyed with her for some time and done some very bad things, in which they work together, because the Three of Pentacles is a working together card. It's a card of like usually work related, but it can also just be people coming together for a communal purpose. So I think this is them having their way with Kristen for whatever reason they had, and feeling lucky about that, and also working together to cover for each other, because as you can see, the Three of Pentacles there, all three of them are working on one another, so it's an equal partnership there, but they're working against Kristen in this case. On the end we have the Five of Pentacles, which came out last. Five of Pentacles, of course, being the card which is more of a bankruptcy type of card, feeling all locked out and alone. And also this person is very naked, and even though there are people looking through the door, as you can see the eye there above the door, I think that somebody may have witnessed something but looked the other way, or at least kept the door shut, like, okay, I don't want to be involved in this, they'll sort themselves out. It kind of reminds me of one of the witnesses said that they had heard a scream, but I don't recall reading anything about them going out to check what was going on. So it could be that somebody witnessed something and didn't want to get involved, and therefore it has kept silence while Kristen was over there in trouble and all alone. So it looks like she was out there trying to find her way back to the airport, or some way to a hotel or someplace safer than the trailer where she was no longer feeling well. And they came along and took advantage of her in her time of need. Now at this part, I believe that Kristen has left the world, if you want to put it that way, and I think we should now try to focus on the perpetrators to see what's happening with them. First of all, what can we find out about them? What's going on with those guys. Oh, that's a lot of cards, so I'm not going to accept all of them. Let's see. First of all, this one. 5 of Cups in reverse. So 5 of Cups is normally focusing on things that you've lost and ignoring the things that you still got. So I think this is showing that they kind of just went about their business in a way. They may have felt bad about it at some point, but also they had enough practicality about their feelings that they were able to lock it away. Like, they did something bad, they realized they did something bad, but they were also fairly quick to just kind of shove that into the back of their mind and move on. Now I have a couple of cards here that fell out. This one, and this one, and the rest I will shuffle in a moment. So we started off with the 4 of Swords, which is taking a break. I think they were just laying low at this point. I'm actually also looking at the blanket that they've covered themselves with. They are literally laying under a green blanket, and didn't one of the witnesses say that they needed to go look for a green Chevy in the back of which they would find the perpetrator? So I think this is kind of reminiscent of that. The person who perpetrated this laid low and probably thought about things, or at least tried to work out what to do next. We have the 10 of Wands and the Fool. The Fool's in reverse, 10 of Wands upright. So they are carrying a burdened by this, by their own actions, but also probably feeling very put down upon, like almost self-pity in a way. But they made their moves very carefully, because you can see the Fool here, and it's in reverse. Normally the Fool will be like, oh, I'm just gonna let the universe guide me wherever it may lead, and in this case it's in reverse. So I feel like they were very careful with their steps. They didn't want to take any chances, so perhaps they laid low and stayed out of the way as much as they could, and were very careful about the actions that they took to avoid detection. Let's see what else we can find. Whoops. 2 Cups in reverse. So it's on its side. I think this might be referencing the person who called 911 if they were indeed correct about the things that they said. That would mean that they would know this person, know what they did, because they had said during their call that they were trying to dissuade this person from taking the actions that they took. But at the same time, they're not that shocked by it that they would actually confess to who it was either. So they have some type of bond, this caller and the perpetrator, that they are probably not in agreement with what they did, but they're also not that much in disagreement that they're actually going to rat them out, so to speak. Are we going to see a change in that though? Because it has been about 30 years. What has happened so far with the perpetrator and this person? Alright, this one jumped but didn't quite fall, but I'm going to grab him anyway. Okay, so Death is in reverse, and we have the King of Wands in reverse. Death in reverse is unable to let something go. King of Wands is somebody who is very actionable, may still be taking the wrong actions, since I asked about an update about the perpetrator and potentially also the person who made that call. They are still unable to let this go, so this is definitely something that is still determining a lot about how they think and feel to this day. And they're still taking the actions to try and no longer be detected. But I do feel like since we drew Death, that they feel like they can't keep this up forever, or they feel like perhaps something or someone is breathing down their neck. We have here the 9 of Swords in reverse, so there's still a lot of anxiety, and in this case it's an anxiety that is permanent. And once again, we see a green piece of bedding. In this case, it's the pillow. I don't know if the Chevy is still within their possession. Probably not. But it seems to be a reference to the 4 of Swords that we had earlier. So the worry that they had here and the anxiety laying low has turned into a permanent fixture within their life. So they're definitely not living happily ever after, so to speak. But are we going to see any sort of revelations there? Are we going to see, oh, we got the sun, so we may see some new light being shown upon the case. So this card is jumping. That one. Okay, so we have the Sun and we have the Six of Wands. So it could be that they're going to be lit up by a certain activity that's going to draw attention to them. And I'm reading this kind of in two ways. On the one hand, I feel like one of the people involved may suddenly get a lot of attention for having done something good, but that may also bring them into the spotlight for whomever is still investigating, which I think this Six of Wands may be pointing towards as well. Like somebody has a breakthrough, and that will lead to something new. Ten of Swords in reverse, though. Darkest before the dawn, but in this case the darkness is staying. It may be saying that the person who made that call, or somebody who knows more about this case, is so stuck in their anxiety that they kind of see the light at some point and they have to get stuff off their chest, and they feel like they're going to be at least hailed as the person who solved the case if they go ahead and say something about it. Because as it is right now, they're still very much stuck in the darkness, and they probably are tired of not wanting to see the lights. Let's see what else we can find out. Whoop. Okay. This one. You and you. Alright, so the Sun is back once again, so we're still seeing a light being shown on the case, which is great. We have the Page of Cups in reverse, somebody who can be emotionally manipulative, but in a adolescent sense, somebody who's not quite very well in tune with their emotions, I think, may also have some irrational reactions from time to time, maybe implicated. We see here the Four of Pentacles in reverse. Four of Pentacles normally being somebody who is trying to balance their finances, their resources, and they are losing that ability. It could be that this person who is about to see the light over here with the double Sun that we pulled is in some type of dire straits, and they are feeling very bad about that, and they see that the only way out is to take care of this issue that's been on the back of their mind for about the last 30 years. So I think we might see somebody caving due to stresses, which may be financial or otherwise. I mean, we have a fairly bad economy right now in most parts of the world. They may feel like this may be somebody who thinks that they can get a reward for turning in information, and that might help them out with their financial trouble. Like that type of thing is what I'm seeing here, and that has made them see the light. So all this past 30 years they've been perfectly comfortable, or at least not super comfortable, but at least comfortable enough to not come out with the truth. But now that stuff is starting to heat up and they're starting to feel pressure financially. Whoops. They are now suddenly exploring the options of coming out with the truth. There's a couple of cards on the floor. I'm going to grab them. Hang on. There's this one. And you. And you. Okay, so we have the Ace of Wands upright. So new beginnings, new initiatives. Could be a new child as well. We literally see a child there on the card. We see the Six of Wands in reverse and the Emperor in reverse. Okay, so the first thing that comes to mind could be that they either have recently or will be having a child or a grandchild or something along those lines, and that kind of sparks this thing within them, like, oh, I did a bad thing back in the day and I'm actually not a very good father or very good role model unless I clear my name. Like there may be something new happening in their life that confronts them with the bad things they did in the past, and they kind of can't live with that anymore, if that makes any sense. Like sometimes some events makes you really look at your own actions and ponder whether there's anything that you still need to fix in your past in order to fully enjoy the future. I think that's what's kind of being indicated here. Another possibility could be that the person that they were trying to protect back then does something that they are so in disagreement with that they're like, okay, now I no longer see you as the emperor that you used to be. You're no longer the hero that I thought you were, at least not in as high of a standing that you used to be in, and this is it. I've reached my limits, and now I'm going to have to take care of my own business, that type of thing. Let's see if we can get any final cards about this case. Okay, not from this deck. What about Modern Witch? Any final cards? Whoops. Okay, that one's on the ground. Again, everything falls on the ground today. Okay, final card. We're back with the Emperor. So I think this may be themselves after all. Like they want to right themselves for whatever reason to, I guess, gain some self-respect back or something along those lines. I think that might be what's going on here. Like in order to be able to continue to look at themselves in the mirror and see the father figure that they hope they would be, they have to right themselves, or at least to be the parental figure that they thought they should be for whomever this new child or person is in your life. Could also just be a new relationship. Doesn't have to be a child. It could be that they just started dating someone and that person is so wholesome and good that it reminds them of their own flaws, that type of thing. So I think it might be something like that. This person is being confronted with the dark sides of their own personality that we saw here as well, that were just so much part of them that they kind of just accepted it, because the person on the Ten of Swords there, even though they've been stabbed by multiple swords, they're just kind of checking their phone, like they're scrolling through their social media, that type of thing. Like it's just part of their existence right now, that type of vibe. And I think they might have a new circumstance that makes them want to change and clean out the closet full of skeletons, so to speak. So that is what I'm seeing for the case of Kristen O'Connell. Kristen, sorry. I think I'm saying Kristen the entire time. Kristen O'Connell. I hope you found that interesting. Make sure to leave a like and a comment. That really helps the channel along. We're nearly at 1,000 subscribers. Would be great if we could hit that mark. That'd be very nice. In any case, I hope to see you in another video as well. Thanks for watching, and bye-bye for now.